What is up, watch fam? I am Christian, the curator of the Theo and Harris Watch Shop, and today I'm going to be talking about some crazy news. Rolex will be releasing new watches in September, and our minds are a little bit blown. Boom, watch fam. All right, quick wristwatch check. I'm actually wearing a watch that is very apropos for today's conversation. This is a vintage Rolex, reference 1675, with an incredible gilt dial. This is definitely one of the best GMTs ever manufactured, one of the most interesting, one of the most beautiful, one of the most, true to the original design. Fantastic watch. This watch is actually headed off to its new owner today, being shipped off to Europe. It was definitely one of the watches that I've been most proud to source and sell in the recent past. If you guys are in the market for or want to educate yourself more on vintage watches, head on over to the Theo and Harris Watch Shop. There's a whole collection that I have actually personally curated, and shoot us an email. I'd be happy to talk about history and aesthetics and your collection. It'll be a blast. So let's get into this conversation. COVID, has screwed, among other things, the watch industry. Sales have absolutely plummeted. Richemont has announced just recently that they've experienced a 47% decline in sales. That's completely plummeting. Baselworld, the most important watch fair, the platform from which brands have historically launched all of their collections for the last, almost 100 years. It's been murdered. And in turn, watch releases, the marketing divisions of all these major companies have been in shambles. And most releases themselves have been canceled. Now, we have seen releases in 2020. We've seen some fantastic watches from JLC, from Cartier, from AP, from Hublot. Plenty of brands have released some very cool watches, but there is no doubt, because all of their plans have been thrown in the trash, these brands basically had to makeshift, last minute, a launch plan that was a fraction of the size of what they already had in action. So from a particular brand, if we would have expected to see 5 watches at the same week, maybe we saw 2 over the course of a month. Just this past month, Patek Philippe has released a couple of watches, 2 which I think were really interesting. One, a Calatrava, that I actually don't care for really very much at all. And the second, a 5370, a split second chronograph, an existing reference already being brought back, but now in blue. Fantastic new edition of this watch. What's my point? Everything was thrown in the trash. Brands are doing their best to get things out there, and everyone's been waiting to see what Rolex would do. Tudor released a new Black Bay 58 in blue, and we said, okay, is that a sign that Rolex will be doing something? And yes, actually it was. It's been reported that Rolex retail partners will actually have new inventory, new watches on September 1st. And there are 2 interesting things about this. One will be, the speculation, what kinds of watches do we think will be coming, what do we hope will be coming, and we'll talk about that. And the other idea here is strategy. I love how Tudor announced their new Black Bay. Historically, with Baselworld, the brands would announce these watches, have a couple of examples there to be seen, and you wouldn't actually see the watches in the IDs for months. So you would almost forget about, these watches. Whereas now, with Tudor and with Rolex, the day that these watches are officially announced is actually the first day the watches are in the boutique. That to me is really, it's a given. It should have been an obvious, improvement years ago, but it clearly wasn't. But I'm glad to see it happening now. So for all intents and purposes, on or around September 1st, we will be hearing about new Rolexes, and in theory, we will have a chance, or at least some sort of a chance, at actually seeing them, holding them, and maybe even buying them at our local Rolex authorized dealership. Now for the fun part, projections. What do we think / hope Rolex will be releasing? I have 3 watches here that 1, I would really like to see, and 2, while maybe a little bit far-fetched, I don't think are completely far-fetched, right? Let's start off with a Submariner. I would love to see, and I think it's quite logical to think that at some point, maybe this coming September, we will see a Submariner in platinum, in the same color scheme that we saw on the Platona. I think the Platona is one of the most beautiful, watches out there. I think it's an incredible watch. I had one in for service for a little while. I absolutely loved it. You guys out there, so many of you know that I go for dress watches. I like, vintage Patek, vintage Cartier, Omega, Rolex, whatever, but really more small, refined watches. But the Platona, which is the antithesis of that, is stunning. I mean, just the weight of it, the colors, the quality of the dial, the brown ceramic, all of it, head to toe. Breathtaking, truly breathtaking. And I would like to see this in a sub. Now, I know the platinum looks like steel on this photo, so really, this basically just looks like a brown and blue Submariner. Not that exciting. But if this happened, and if you guys got your hands on this watch, this would be the baddest Submariner ever, in the same way that the Daytona very well might be the baddest Daytona ever. And what's so cool about these platinum Rolex, they're pretty understated, all things considered. While this platinum Submariner would probably retail somewhere around $60,000, it would be far, more understated than the yellow gold Submariners that retail in the 30s. Now, I love a good yellow gold Submariner. There's no doubt about that. But I find something really attractive about that very stealth color combo. So I would love to see this, and I don't think it's impossible. Before I go into the next two watches, here's a quick announcement from Anna.
Quick announcement, we are doing another giveaway. This time there will be 2 winners who will receive Rolex passport holders. All you have to do to enter to win is subscribe to this channel and comment below your thoughts on these predictions and this conversation. So comment below, subscribe to the channel, and you might win a Rolex passport holder. Back to the video.
All right, we're back. Second prediction, Rolex Explorer 1. Rolex just a couple of years ago increased the size of their Explorer 1 from 36 millimeters to, I believe, 39 millimeters. Really nice watch. I haven't actually owned one, but I know plenty of people that do and have. While 39 is just a millimeter off from 40, which is the size of the Submariners, they have a thinner profile overall, so they actually do wear a lot more conservatively. Now, the world is begging for a polar dial Explorer. I think that's actually pretty possible, but it's out there. People have been talking about it for a while. At some point, if it happens, it won't really be a surprise. Now, what I would love to see would be, whether in polar or in black, I would love to see a titanium Explorer. Now, I know what you're thinking, Rolex doesn't really do alternative materials. They do yellow gold, rose gold, white gold, platinum, and steel. But end of the conversation. But if any watch deserves, to be made in titanium, right, an extremely corrosive resistant, an extremely light and durable material, it's the Explorer. Titanium is a superior metal for exploring. It's actually more logical. If Rolex were dedicated to actually developing this Explorer for the use of explorers, right, of actual climbers, they'd probably make it in titanium. If this watch was basically Explorer spec, it would be in titanium. Think of Vacheron Constantin. One of the best watches of the last, quite a few years. One of the best special edition was their overseas dual time, which they made for Corey Richards when he climbed Mount Everest. Fantastic watch, but think about it logically, right? It's just the right and logical material. I think that would actually bring Rolex quite a bit back to their roots. This is a tool watch. And I think that watch geeks would absolutely go crazy if they did that. Now, last watch is again a precious metal watch. So many of you guys out there know how high I am on precious metal. And this is a GMT. It's a Rolex GMT Master 2. Now, I've heard a lot of rumors out there for the last year or two that Rolex will be releasing a Hulk in yellow gold. But actually, what I'd like to see is a GMT 2 in yellow gold with a green bezel and green dial, or at least the green bezel. Now, I remember, when I was 10 at the time, it was 2005. And I remember the yellow gold case, green dial GMT. It was released in 05 and it was released for the 50th anniversary of the GMT Master. And I remember loving that watch. But I'd like to see it reimagined and improved. I think this would be a super hot combo. Maybe a little unoriginal, I suppose, but I think totally possible and extremely attractive. Maybe green on green with a white gold case. That would be like the rich flying Hulk. So that's it. Those are my projections and hopes. I'm very much so looking forward to seeing what Rolex will release in September. I am sure that whatever they do release, good or bad, there will be lines around the block to buy those pieces, and I'm looking forward to covering the premiums at which they trade, I'm sure, 2 days after their release in September. Thank you all for watching this episode. If you like watches, go ahead and like this video and comment your thoughts down below. Did I hit the nail on the head, or am I missing something that is so glaringly obvious? See you soon.